American Nacho. How are you doing today, man? I'm doing great, dude. So you recently appeared on Timcast IRL, dude. How was that?
It was kind of surreal. The whole thing was pretty thrown together last minute, to be honest. Sort of how I got, in the loop on that. But it was fun. Super organized. Tim's good people. Compound is crazy. Whole thing was like, I did a video on it after, of like, I have a video on my YouTube that's like, so I went on Tim Pool or whatever. And I go through the whole thing. It was like I felt like Mr. Bean at one point. You know what I mean? It's like everything that could go wrong goes wrong. Like from getting there to even trying to leave. Then I ended up going to a wedding with Andrew Wilson and some other friends I knew. So it was just, the whole thing was just a wild ride from start to finish. So.
I like Andrew Wilson, man. I'm definitely checking out more of his content and enjoying some of the stuff he does. Actually ended up debating this kid Oliver that I debated on Jubilee, and he did way better than I did.
Yeah.
And he crushed that kid though. It's
Yeah, I
awesome.
think I saw some of that, but I don't think I finished the whole thing. I think that was on like whatever, right?
Yeah, that was on the
Yeah,
Whatever podcast.
those
Yeah,
things are so long. I can't make it all the way
that
through them
debate was like
sometimes, man.
5 hours long, bro.
Yeah,
It
they
was
go hard,
5
dude.
hours.
I don't know how Brian does it. He goes for like 8 hours every time. But yeah, that was a ton of fun. It was crazy because I was so sick too. I like that's what I'm talking about. Like as soon as I got the word, it was like less than a week till we were doing it. I don't even know who I was going to be on there with. We didn't know what the topics were. Like a couple days out, but it was a blast though. I had to do it.
Yeah, you get that opportunity, you gotta take it, man. So what was, like, the experience, I guess, just, I guess, debating or having this conversation with I don't know, I've seen that chick on several different videos before, she's been making the rounds. She's been on the Whatever podcast too, correct?
Yeah, yeah. She's basically like Destiny's little sidekick. They argue a lot of the points. Doesn't do it well. On that one, it was weird because the overarching theme was why are men leaving the left, and it seemed like I couldn't even really get into that because as soon as I got into that, she basically just conceded, that men were leaving the left, probably for the same reasons because the Democratic Party doesn't know how to reach them and different things like that. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know where we're gonna go from here. And then Tim obviously latched on at one point and just started killing her. Uh, the whole thing was a little crazy.
I listened to about the first hour and a half of it, and, I did notice that they didn't give you a lot of opportunity to speak, man.
Yeah, I think I'm glad that that happened, to be honest, because I was like so sick. It was crazy. Like I got sick on basically like on the plane over there. So Wednesday night or whatever, I started, or Wednesday morning maybe or afternoon, I started feeling like a little like maybe I have like the sniffles or that. But Thursday, like throughout the whole day, I just felt so terrible. And then like the plane ride up there, getting to the hotel super late, I had to like DoorDash, Gatorade and electrolytes and whatever, and like cold medicine. I like stuffed some cold medicine from work from the shop into my pocket and like took it there. It was so bad. So I'm kind of glad because I didn't like, you know what I mean? I didn't get a whole lot of speaking time because Tim, was agreeing with a lot of the points. And Tim took it in another direction too, especially at the end when he started talking about Ukraine. I don't know anything about Ukraine.
Yeah,
She
I'm
wanted
not really
him,
big on geopolitics,
yeah,
so
she wanted him to give a lecture, and he took her up on it, and he did. Kind of impressive because he rattled it off for like a good 20, 30.
yeah, he has like an article for everything, bro. He has something he can pull for just about everything. It is really impressive. But that's what happens when you eat, breathe, and sleep the news, man. That's just what he does, man.
Yeah. But yeah, it was definitely cool. Like it was definitely different being in person. I don't do a lot of in person stuff. I don't know how much stuff. Like, do you do debates or anything like that, or like
See,
panels, or?
my first debate was that Jubilee debate I did. That was the first time I've ever debated.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, I've never actually done a public debate. So normally I've done in the actually I haven't done something like this where I'm having a dialogue with somebody on my show for I don't know, several years now. I used to do it a lot more often, then I stopped doing it, but actual debates I've never really done that.
Yeah.
No, and I would love to eventually do more of it and get better at it because you watch back, in hindsight's one of those things where you watch back some of the content that you made or the
Yeah.
debate that you did, and you're always thinking like, I should have said this, I should have did that.
Yeah.
Real missed opportunity there. And I look back on my Jubilee debate and I do think like, dang, I should have done better, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I get a little bit of those feelings from going on here, but I think the good thing is that I didn't. It's not really that I did poorly. I just didn't get in there a lot. So I'm like, that's better than me like getting in the mix and then doing poorly or something.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it overall. Like,
Yeah. I think like with the debate I did in light of like I took a topic that I wasn't it was the topic that I was probably least knowledgeable out of all of those ones, and I had to defend it, and I thought I did good in light of that. And I spend a lot of time just I listen to people, so I'll stop, pause, listen, then respond. But I realize in that type of setting, you have to be far more aggressive. I actually think I would have probably done better in like a situation where you have like a couple hours and you can flesh out an idea, but in like 7 minutes, you got to find middle ground. How the hell do you do that in 7 minutes?
what was the one that you were on? Because
It
I didn't even
was
know that.
is
Because I met you on an X space.
Yes, yeah. It was is misandry more of a problem than misogyny? And I was arguing that it is more of a problem, and Oliver was taking the opposing position. So
I have to check. I didn't even know that.
yeah,
Because
yeah, it was pretty cool, man.
I knew I caught you on a Twitter space or maybe a couple Twitter spaces.
Yeah, and ironically too, I was praying to God I didn't get sick before I went there because my whole family had come down with this nasty cold, and I was like, God, just please, I don't care, just don't let me get sick until
See,
until after.
that's what all I prayed for was just like, let me just have a good experience. I was like, I'm already sick. This is not. It's not like this is going away, but just let me have like be in the moment. Let me enjoy myself.
Yeah.
I actually skated there after too. Well, skated. So I it was me falling down a lot on the half pipe. So
Hey, at
they're
least you
supposed to
put your
get me
best
this
effort
video
there.
because the guy was recording. So as soon as I hopped on the skateboard, he was like, took out his phone and started recording, and he said they were going to post him on the Boonies, which is Tim Pool skate channel. So I'm
That's
waiting
cool.
to see if they how they if they're going to throw him into like a montage or some clip thing, or probably text him again.
That's
It was
cool,
just
man.
me like
Well,
busting my butt 4 good times, like 3 good times, and then finally hitting because I never dropped into a half pipe before. Shallow one, and it was bad. I ate it so hard, like 3 times.
yeah, that
But
reminds me of my first time snowboarding.
that's
I spent the whole day falling.
once I saw the camera out though too, I was like, dude, I can't have just like the video of me falling. Like I have to now I have to succeed because he's filming. Like so, I was like, all right, I'm gonna give this like a good 5 try, and if it doesn't work, uh, landed it on like the try or something.
Well, I was happy to see you get the opportunity, man, and that was cool. It's cool seeing somebody you kind of know on that, and the fact that he doesn't just pick like big names to come on this culture war. That it's just pretty much anyone. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, when I started to do some research for it, and I used to watch Tim Pool IRL, like the Timcast or whatever. So I knew the kind of format of that show. I wasn't really too familiar with the culture war. I knew he was doing another show, like a morning show. But when I started going back, I realized there were some other people that were, and it looked like it seems like they were actually picking people from some similar communities I've been in, because I've been in and out of the politics kind of sphere, debate panel scene, whatever you want to call it, since like 2020, 2019 into 2020. Do it, and because I went out and I started doing I even did some live streams at like protests. I went to DC. I went to Million MAGA March. I went to
Oh, sick.
so I've been doing it for a while, but I have two kids now and full time job, so that stuff you gotta kind of buckle in once you
No, I hear you, dude. Just
definitely been
doing
more of a hobby.
these streams every night for, 1 to 2 hours. It's a lot when you work a full-time job, bro.
Yeah.
I definitely
Do you
get it.
have kids and stuff too? Aren't
I
you?
do, I have
You're
2
married,
kids.
right?
Yeah, I'm married with 2 kids. I have a 6-year-old and a, 2-year-old and another on the way, so yeah. I'm a busy man, dude. It's, so which is why I start my streams at, like, 9 o'clock. Like, my
Yeah.
kids are in bed.
That's
No
that's
one
the
can bother
same.
me.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny too because I was, like I've been doing it off and on for a while. Like I've been on Bosch's channel, Destiny's, all these kind of people. I was actually part of. Me and Andrew got linked up a little between 30, 100 live viewers currently on it. So I've been knowing him since before then, and when he was still BPF. Time he would join a panel, he started, so that became his name, kind of sphere or whatever. So Doobie on the politics, all these kind of guys I was with, or these kind of sphere. But like I said, I kind of and I stopped doing it on Twitch too. I was streaming video games. Closer it got to after I got married in 20, all the weird, what our plan of family. So of the beat tune to like, okay, why are these? How do we keep it this? Why are the taxes that? Do they police this neighborhood well, or do they, whatever? So all the things that you're thinking about, your environment. It's like they always say, like, well, you need, you can not care about politics, but it can affect you in some.
Yeah, man, it's
Pay
really
attention.
important. It impacts our lives, man. I almost lost my job in like 2021 because of stupid COVID mandates, bro. That was real. That was real for me. So when what is it? I know the Daily Wire gets a lot of hate, but I'm really grateful for them because they overturned that Biden mandate and I didn't lose my job because of it, because they were trying to force jab me. So it's like,
That was a little too late. I had
yeah,
to do it. I was
dang,
working
man.
in a nursing home, and I couldn't
Yeah,
afford to
dude.
just like do inconvenience.
Dude, I get
I
it,
had
bro.
no choice. It sucked, dude.
Yeah, it's freaking
I
frustrating.
did end up quitting though because then I wanted to do another one, do another. Now I'm giving in, and it's like, is enough gonna? Funny thing is, several other, but I had already left and found.
Dang. Yeah, they went crazy. So I guess that's a good way to kind of segue into them continuing to be crazy and doing crazy things. So we'll be talking a little bit about immigration. We'll discuss kind of the conflict happening with Iran and Israel and our potential involvement if we're not already involved already. And then the SCOTUS ended up ruling in favor of banning transgender surgeries in Tennessee. So that's pretty cool to see that happen. So we'll I guess open first with this story with Trump reversing course on the immigration raids at farms and hotels. Now I had previously spoken about this, and I was very frustrated that Trump was suddenly deciding to go soft on this issue. Like we voted for him on the notion and understanding that he was going to basically indiscriminately deport people, deport anybody who's here illegally. That's what he campaigned on. Yeah. And then suddenly we see a change in tune, and he wants to go soft on farm workers and workers at hotels, because they've been here a long time. So that really bothered me, and he got a lot of pushback on it from a lot of people in the right wing. And I ultimately think that's what led to the outcome that we're going to read about today, which is him reversing course on immigration, on raids, and at farms. So this is from the Daily Wire. So the Trump administration is reversing course, reportedly telling agents from U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement that they should continue to conduct immigration raids on farms, in hotels, and in restaurants. Yes, obviously. Obviously, this is the right move.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, basically, the way I see this is all of these corporations, all of these businesses, and Elon Musk was guilty of this. I don't know how much you were following leading up to this past election, but Elon Musk and Trump got a lot of heat coming into the election because we're having some conversation. So they were, you had Elon Musk talking about, oh, I will, and he said, "F you in your face if, whatever, if you," basically saying he's going to die on the hill of, we need all these H1, we need all these people, not enough work, there's not enough, labor force, which is total bullshit.
Yeah.
For especially for his line of work, uh, him specifically. So me and I'm a small. Lots of other big influencers were giving Elon a lot of shit for this because they were sharing all of these H1B applications, and they basically gave away the game. Is that take these? You have a bunch of college graduates ready to come into these. So people have been preaching programming, software, whatever for 10 years. That's about how long
Yep.
leaving out of high school. So there's definitely Americans in. And on top of that, Elon Musk himself just fired, tons of people from X. And when he did that, Facebook, Meta, all these other companies actually followed suit because he was taking all. He started firing people from X, and everybody was in an uproar about it. All these other social media companies firing tons of people. They just started cutting the fat. Even at YouTube, Google, everybody started doing it. So not only are there, hundreds of thousands of new college educated, ready to go Americans coming into this field. Then on top of that, there's this, probably 50,000 or more workers that you guys all just fired past 4 years that have job experience already in the field. So what are you talking about when you're trying to tell Americans that there's not anybody to work these? So then they found out that, okay, well, how does the H-1B visa process work? Well, you have to list a job for a certain period of time, and if it doesn't get traction, then you can apply for the H-1B visa. So what they were doing was, say, an engineering job or whatever, software engineering job pays out $104,000, somewhere
Okay.
between like 92, 104 average salary. So a college kid coming out of school with $250,000 of student loans isn't going to take it for anything less. They know what the job should pay. So they're listing these jobs for like 70, 68. And of course, they're not going to get any traction. So then they're up for a certain amount of time. They pass the threshold. Now they're able to apply for an H-1B visa. Now they list it for an H-1B visa, and they bump it up a little bit. They bumped it up to like 84,000 or something, like even 88 at the highest. Or so the reality of it is, all these major corporations are just looking to cut fat from their companies. They're looking to cut that overhead, even if it's a small margin. They're just looking to drop that labor cost down. When you really put it together, and you're like, and the same thing is happening with the immigration too. They want to pay somebody $6 an hour to pick strawberries because it cuts their overhead down. But if you can't operate if the only way that your company can operate is by displacing American workers and paying people an unlivable wage, you don't deserve to survive as a company. You
Yeah,
know what
I
I mean?
agree with that too, because there are a lot of viable options too. I went over a couple of them just recently. Like we could lower the age minimum for like high school students to work, or maybe like 12 or something like that. For workers. Granted, it's safe working conditions. We could utilize prisoners. I mean, we could tap into all the people that are losing their jobs because they're being displaced by AI. Don't tell me there's not going to be somebody there that's willing to fill the job.
Yeah. I mean, people
It's just
are, the
bullcrap.
unemployment rate is high. People are looking for work. I do think there is, unfortunately, an attitude among leftists, kind of like, Marxist socialist ideology that's spread to some young people, where once COVID happened, they did get used to that. Hey, I get to get unemployment plus $650. I get to make whatever I was making, or 88% of whatever I was making, $650, and they got used to that.
Oh yeah.
But
I seen it abused, bro, too. I worked in supported housing for 3 years. So our job was essentially to get people who were either homeless or had some severe mental illness and get them placed into housing, and we would provide them with a fully furnished apartment. Their rent would be 30% of their total monthly income, and their utilities would be covered. And even with that, they still, one, didn't pay rent. Some were collecting unemployment, and getting public assistance and getting this affordable housing and still not paying rent, and then dealing drugs out of their apartment. So yeah.
yeah, so I know there's that attitude, that sentiment is still existing, but that's, there are people, the people want to work. People are looking for, people are trying to get, make an honest living. And this idea that we need to invite the rest of the, I mean, you think about basically what you're telling the American populace. You're basically telling them, because what happens is these immigrants come here, they work. So, Indians will come here and work that. They won't necessarily be able to make, if they're going to get paid $70,000, but they have to live in, like, San Francisco or something. They can't afford to live there. So they're going to pile 15 people into a household, 18 people into a household. And that's where the statistic comes, makes so much. Well, yeah, but if you look at the amount of people that are living in those households too, that plays a big. You have, 8 people on average in a household like that. Of course, they're gonna, household income is higher. So, all of them come here. They live in, not really the best conditions. They're living 18 people to a household. They're earning half the wages they should be earning, and they're living in squalor, piled on top of each other, to survive. So what you're saying basically, you're giving those people the opportunity over Americans, is telling Americans, hey, if you don't also live like this, you don't also take $6 an hour, you don't also live 20 people to a household, you're not gonna make it here. You're gonna be homeless. You're gonna be in the streets. And that's a shitty message to send, to your population. We elect, you know, government officials. We consolidated this power into the government, into the state, so that the state would look out for us.
Yeah.
So when the state does things that are not in our best interests, we have to speak out again.
No, I totally agree. And this whole issue with immigration has just been it's just been chaos, man. We had those the riots recently. I don't know if they're even still happening. I think they are, to a degree, and it was chaos. Actually, one of the guys I met at Jubilee, um Anthony Cabeza. He was actually on 10cast recently. He was actually one of the people doing a lot of the reporting on these people rioting. And what were they rioting over? They were rioting over us wanting to send people back to their own countries because they broke our laws.
Yeah,
That's ultimately they're rioting because we want to enforce the law,
yeah,
which is just it's ridiculous to me.
yeah, and it's well within. It's the crazy thing too is that, what's funny. I was talking to a close family member about, and most my family's pretty good. Even the ones that are a little more like they're like libertarian, mostly how independent. Like we're not really tied to a party, which is actually a good way to be raised. But a couple of them are very anti-Trump. They're not even really. You can't even call them leftists or Democrats. The current state Democrats. But anyways, so I was talking to a close family. They didn't even know that this stuff was going on. They didn't know that Trump's numbers are lower currently than Obama's. They're lower than Clinton's. They're lower than Bush's. Like Trump, if you look at the numbers that Trump is deporting, he's not actually hitting the mark. He's not doing what we wanted him to. And a big part of that is because of the media outcry, and he's trying to play this, strategically, and sure he's looking at midterms. But it's funny. It was funny to watch the light bulb go off because I was like, the numbers are the same that they were, or less than they were under Obama, less than they were under Bush, less than they were under Clinton. So we're actually not even doing enough. And then on top of that, then another common one is or question is like, oh, well, they weren't getting due process. And I'm like, well, how are they getting due process? How are they not getting due process if we have videos of them being dragged out of the? What do you think is happening there?
Yeah, we have this video right now. Well, it's a good time to kind of cue it up. Let's see here. Breaking a hardworking, undocumented immigrant showed up to court, did everything right. Undocumented immigrant did everything. No,
Everything
you
right?
did
Yeah.
not do everything right. And was ripped from his family on the spot. No warning, no mercy, just gone. He paid taxes. He believed in the system. This is how we repay him. It's disgusting. Give me 1 second. I will play this. All right.
Caballero, va a ser peor. No, no, no aconseje porque va a...
Déjeme pasar. Déjeme pasar, por favor.
He did everything right.
Yeah. Everything except come to the country legally.
What are you talking about? She was crying.
and and
That means we need to abandon our immigration laws.
right. That's the thing. I mean, I wonder like, what if you know how there's like joke about like the dog that catches the car or whatever. The dog that always barks at the car. What do they actually do when the car stops? That's what I wonder about these people. What if you just gave them the magic wand and you were like, okay, what would you do? I mean, what do they think we should we stop policing too? Because guess what? People get arrested all the time for crimes that they didn't commit. Our criminal justice system makes mistakes constantly. And we've basically all agreed as a society it's still better to have police.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And honestly, I hate the emotional manipulation that they use to try to basically beat us over the head into being compliant. They want to emotionally manipulate us to feel bad for these people so that we're like, never mind. But a question that I've been asking is on what conditions can we deport people? Like, when are we allowed to even do it?
Right.
According to you people, and they just can't answer it because the truth is there are no they don't want it, period. They want these people to stay, and they will bring up every sob story in the book to try to manipulate us into feeling sorry for these people. And I think it's
Well,
a bunch of baloney.
and that's the thing. You know what I mean? I'm a Christian. I have a heart. I do care. I mean, I'm a little obnoxious online sometimes, but I do. I mean, on a personal level, I can relate. Like I can understand, that a family is being abandoned. But it's this. I look at it the same way that I look at when somebody commits a heinous crime and they have to go to prison for life, and they're a father. Well, are you going to blame the police for ripping your family apart? Are we supposed to just, oh, okay, you know what? I'm sorry. I know you murdered 3 people, but I didn't know you had 3 kids and a wife. We're going to let you just, like, it's the
Yeah.
same kind of principle. Like, these people knew what they were doing, knew they were coming into the country illegally. And a lot of them, and that's the funny thing is they make these cases where they're like, hold these cases where, about the people that have been here 15 years. Those people are even worse.
Yes, because they've been breaking the law for 20 years.
Right. And what you're doing is you're demonstrating your refusal to assimilate to the culture, to the society. You can file for papers. They even didn't they have like an amnesty program like under Biden? Didn't they run a big amnesty program?
I mean,
And then I think even under Trump they might.
I'm sure they've definitely had something
In the
that
past,
gave them a
like,
pathway to citizenship.
yeah, in the past 10 years there have been, you know, I don't know exactly when, but I'm pretty sure past 10 years under one of these administrations there has been amnesty programs, specifically for trying to get those people who are here illegally file paperwork, become legal citizens the right way through the right channels and get that process started. So yeah, I mean, if you're here for 15, 20 years and you still haven't done that, yeah, I mean, in my opinion, you're priority. You're at the top of the list to go home. Got to get
Yeah.
deported first.
And they don't regard or respect the laws of our land, and they don't respect our country or our countrymen. That I think that's a good way to kind of bring up this clip because this is, I guess, from Panera Bread, and this is a guy raging out. So we'll play this real quick.
I am so sick of you foreigners coming to my fucking country and treating me like shit. This is my country. You are a foreigner on my fucking land. You fucking racist. You motherfucking racist. You piece of shit.
Eating what?
All right, I don't want to see that video, but anyway,
Feel it, dude.
yeah,
I
I
feel 'em,
feel
dude.
it too. You know, the disrespect and disregard for our country's way of life. I could actually respect somebody, who wants to assimilate. And a lot of people will use the Bible as a means to kind of also guilt trip us and beat us over the head to accept unchecked immigration. But when foreigners are becoming part of Israel, according to the Old Testament, when they're taking in the foreigners, there's an expectation that they are getting circumcised and following God's ways, keeping his
They are
commandments,
forced to assimilate.
obeying the laws of the land. That is the expectation. Christians don't talk about that, but that is exactly what God expects. If you're going, like that's the principle there. So if you're going to come
No,
to our country, then you need to assimilate.
yes, and even more than that, that's the funny thing too is people try to being a whatever you are, a nationalist, and well, yeah, I am. I'm an American nationalist. I'm a Christian nationalist. I want people to come here and assimilate. I don't want people to come and bring. I don't want Muslims coming here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want you coming here and bringing your culture to change the culture that's here. If you want to be here, you need to come here and demonstrate that. You need to come here and you need to change. You need to accept our culture. as it is. And the funny thing that I forgot to mention about the first video that you played before that one, the one where the guy's getting dragged out of court, and they're all speaking Spanish throughout
Yeah,
the
that's what.
entire
Yeah, I
video.
can't
They're
stand
speaking
that either.
Spanish. Like, that is even more just demonstrates the point that these people are unwilling to assimilate. They do not care about conforming to the society. And furthermore, the left and the Democrats have started to sort of celebrate this. And unfortunately, uh, as much as I actually like JFK for a lot of reasons. He was like probably one of the last true America First presidents and America First Democrats. That, but unfortunately, like in his book, uh, Nation of Immigrants, like he he is one of the proponents that he wanted to push the American government has always been open to immigration, but we were focused on um, Western European immigration first. Like that was kind of like prioritized in our, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the reason we prioritize that is because they fit in the
They
easiest.
shared common
They share,
values.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was like they were the closest match to the puzzle piece. They fit in well. They assimilated well. They learned English. They learned the law. Um, for a long period of time leading up to World War II, I think for about 100 years or something like that, a very long time, almost from the conception of the country. The second most common language in the country was actually German, not
Hmm.
Spanish. So, and JFK was unfortunately part of that problem, so to speak. He thought it was wrong that we prioritize um, European immigration. He thought that we like that, and
Yeah,
we should basically
and
allow more in it. And I don't necessarily think there was anything wrong with us prioritizing Western Europe, also allowing, because it's not like we didn't allow that. We we focused on this group because they fit in easiest.
yeah, that makes sense. We got Yashir in the chat. Hello, man. Hope you're having a good day. Um, yeah, and when you allow all these people to come in and there's not that assimilation process, and they're bringing their culture, their values, everything they stand for, it starts to dilute essentially your own country, and then you don't have anything unifying you anymore. You don't have common values. You don't have a shared heritage because you have people coming from all over the world in all different places that have their own values and their own belief systems that they're bringing to you and trying to impose it on your nation. And I think the results have been disastrous.
Did you see what was going on in Texas with they were trying to build a compound. It was like a $4.2 billion project or something like that. They're actually they actually stopped. They halted the sort of the progress on it. But this was a big thing. I actually pulled up. But it's a huge project. They were trying to build this basically compound to where Muslims could come in and they could live and basically be under law. And it's a huge thing. And I think Governor Abbott has temporarily stopped it. But this is kind of the trouble that you run into when you just kind of celebrate, like the idea of celebrating the an immigrant's unwillingness to assimilate to the culture is just asinine to me. And it's just such a crazy concept. Why would you celebrate the fact that people who are supposed to be coming to your country are unwilling to conform to the society norms, culture, and conform to that kind of narrative? Like, you wanted to come here reason. You wanted to come here because the country is. Now you're going, whatever else in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
see what this is.
So they were calling it Epic City.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
400
400
mosques and
mosques. Yeah, I
Islamic
mean,
centers funded
yeah.
by Qatar linked to
Yeah, I mean, like,
okay.
how crazy
That
are
sounds like
we?
a great idea. Yeah,
A-
let's just let
And
Hamas
and I
bring
know you could
build mosques.
find leftists that would come out and support this. I mean, I'm pretty sure whenever this came out, there was a bunch of like progressives and leftists and whatever that were like standing up against it. And it's so crazy because they have like the rainbow flag in their name, and it's like they're part of the Skittles community and all this, and it's the most insane thing because it's like if you let's say you let them build this, you know, would you ever go live there? No, of
No, I
course
would
not,
feel
because you
very
would get
uncomfortable.
thrown off a roof as you know, with your stupid Skittles flag, your stupid rainbow flag in your bio, and your wig and your fake nails and your, you know what I mean. We can all see your Adam's apple. You're getting tossed off the roof, dude. Like,
Oh,
I don't know what these people think is going to happen once we reach like critical mass. So once we have enough of these people, we invite enough of these refugees in. What do they think is going to happen? Think they're just going to continue to be allowed?
what's gonna happen is what's happening in the UK, and we're gonna have babies named Muhammad. You know, it's gonna be the most popular name in America. You know, that's what's gonna happen. We're not gonna have a country anymore. At least not a country that we recognize. And this is one of those things too that I do think like Christians are sleeping on. So we hear a lot about Israel, but we don't hear like anything about Islam. And I don't get it. You know, I don't get why we're not we don't view them as more of a threat than they actually are, because they are, I mean, one of the fastest growing religions in the world. They are a longtime enemy of Christians. They're no friend of ours, and I just don't get why a lot of conservatives have seemed to kind of embrace Islam. And I just maybe it's because they're more, you know, stoic and you know, have some conservative values, but
Yeah, I mean,
I don't get
I
it.
feel like I've seen some of that, but I don't know if it's hard to like. I don't think I mean, it's the same way that you would say like Christians are embracing, you know, pride stuff, Skittle stuff. I don't think that I don't know how to say it's some kind of I'm sure it's some kind of like logical fallacy, but basically like, you know, if you say if I said like, you know, well, innocent people or innocent men are more dangerous or uh whatever, and it's because this one guy, he went out and he killed a bunch of people, and I'm like, well, by the nature of what he did, he's no longer innocent.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of way, like by the nature of your attitude towards these things, you're you're not necessarily, I wouldn't say you're not Christian, because as Orthodox we don't really try to make a hard claim other people's salvation, whatever, but you're violating Christian principles. You know what I mean? By having this attitude, allowing other people in, allowing, you know, this sin into your church, you're no longer upholding what, you know, what the scripture, kind of hard to parse out. I don't understand how these people wear that circle.
Yeah, I don't get it either. They'll find out, unfortunately, the hard way, because one day we will wake up, and if we don't hold the line, you know, one day we will wake up, and the country will look worse than it is today if we don't wake up to the reality that they are coming here. They're trying to build mosques. They're
Yeah, and I mean Christians have to wake up. I mean Christians do have to wake up a little bit. They do have to have the same kind of like for um do have to have more do have to take it seriously. We do have to reject this. Tolerance is not a Christian virtue.
no.
I think this is one of the reasons, you know, that I was, you know, a little more attracted to, which is funny because at first I didn't even realize that Andrew was a Christian or even Orthodox early on. Later on, I was actually already kind of in my study of, you know, Christianity, trying to find stronger foundation. Wife was pregnant with my first child, my son, I was just curious about my faith, like going to a Mennonite church, brought it more church. Just started reading text, get to the part where it talks about there is a church. What happened to that church? Because and I started to find out like and then I'm like working my way back Protestant shotgun blast out from Great Schism, which Catholicism from that it's just a combination. You start to realize that basically I was looking for something a little more solid. You know what I mean? I need to have all these questions. I need to have something that's not going to change. And I realized that even though the church that I was going to was great, it was subject to the same things eventually. I mean, eventually, a generation later, these people are going to lose their way a little bit. This idea that tolerance, unlimited tolerance, turn the other cheek. Yes, Jesus turned the other cheek, but he also flipped the tables and he fashioned a whip the people out of. You know what I mean? He whipped the
Yeah, a
Pharisees.
lot of people like to depict Jesus as the little lamb, but they don't like to depict him as coming back with fire in his eyes and a sword in his hand. They don't like to depict him that way, you know?
Exactly. So, I was looking for, and I think a lot of men today are actually, looking for, especially Christians, that more of like a leader, a sort of a patriarch, holding on to like the traditions of humanity, really. I mean, because this goes back to the roots. I mean, what happens tomorrow if all this stuff kicks off, and we're really in World War, or things are going crazy? Nobody really cares. Nobody's going to care about their pronouns,
Yeah,
care about your blue
yeah, that's
hair.
all gonna go out
They're
the
not going to
window.
care about what sex, gender, what you practice in the bedroom. Nobody's going to want to hear about any of that crap. They're not going to really care even what color you are. I mean, it's going to, when it hits the fan, I mean, all that stuff goes out the window. And you really just need to be able to find out, like, on a core level, like, who your allies are and who your enemies are. And these people are going to find out eventually. Hopefully they don't, I guess, because hopefully we Christians can turn this around. But I mean, yeah, if it goes the way that they want it to go, that they advocate, and they're kind of being the catalyst for, out the heart.
Yeah, one of the things I do take heart in, like being a Christian and being rooted in, biblical truth, is that the gates of hell will not prevail against, Christ's church. So no matter what comes our way, we will stand. We will hold the line. Hell will not prevail, even if it does seem like the world is kind of spiraling out of control. We can hold on to that fundamental truth that uh, God is in control, and if He is with us, then no one can be against us.
I was trying to find, because you mentioned it, but about the UK thing. Actually, going back and forth, basically about that, about the Muhammad being the most popular first name in the country, and different, and you know, it's crazy that these guys, the first kind of reaction, some of these people in the United Kingdom and across Europe, their first reaction is to like question. Basically, there was a heinous crime committed by some guy, and this guy's response was like, "Well, were the laws like to him explicitly?" And I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me!" Here, I have the link.
That's also a oh, well, if they assimilated and came in the right way, they would know the laws.
Yeah,
They would
it's
understand the
like
laws, but
it's.
I mean, like some of these, like don't murder. That's like a universal law. That's like we all know it's bad to
Here,
murder.
I shared it in the back channel here.
Oh,
Um,
here we go.
that's my repost of him. But then if you just click on his thing, you can. Just bizarre that you. that are essentially sticking up for them.
All right, here we go. Let me pull it up. All right, that is. Hold on a second. All right. The wives blame those girls for what happened to them. They said they tempted their husbands with their Western dress. These people cannot be assimilated into our culture. Should they be deported too? Yeah, white girls are filthy. Wives of Asian men jailed for raping vulnerable British girls reveal why they blame the victims. Holy crap. The question is, were our laws plainly explained? Hell, bro.
And so that's what and then if you go back to my post, like, yeah, this is why you're all going to be Muslim in the next. I mean, it's like inevitable at this point.
It's conquest. Honestly,
what?
it's how they're conquering. It's not the, the way that it used to be where you come in with an army, or at least a identifiable army. They're doing it through reproduction. They're doing it through exploiting our own country's laws against us and using it in their favor.
Yeah, let me find. I'm trying to find this. Here it is. I got a perfect one for. And the crazy thing is that this video is 16 years old. I put it in the back. It's just only be a couple. Maybe like.
All right, give me 1 second here. Let me get this pulled up. Okay.
So you got to think too. All of these numbers are 16 years old. At this point, it's past no return for a lot of Europe, unfortunately.
Dang.
I mean, they would need some serious. They would need some serious.
Yeah, how do you root it out at that point?
Unironically, and I'm not even like, this is not an incitement to violence, okay? But unironically, the only way at this point would be if the Catholic Church actually cared about Christians. I'm not even Catholic, but that's about the only way, is if they were to kick off another crusade. Unironically, if you watch this video, you see what I'm talking about.
All right, let's go.
Not an incitement to violence, okay? Don't
Don't open my channel.
promise, dude.
No, it's all good, man. We're streaming on Rumble. We won't get banned.
That's true. We'll still have Rumble.
According to research, in order for a culture to maintain itself for more than 25 years, there must be a fertility rate of 2.11 children per family. With anything less, the culture will decline. Historically, no culture has ever reversed a 1.9 fertility rate. A rate of 1.3, impossible to reverse, because it would take 80 to 100 years to correct itself. And there is no economic model that can sustain a culture during that time. In other words, if two sets of parents each have one child, there are half as many children as parents. If those children have one child, then there are 1/4 as many grandchildren as grandparents. If only 1 million babies are born in 2006, it's hard to have 2 million adults enter the workforce in 2026. As the population shrinks, so does the culture. As of 2007, the fertility rate in France was 1.8, England 1.6, Greece 1.3, Germany 1.3, Italy 1.2, Spain 1.1. Across the entire European Union of 31 countries, the fertility is a mere 1.38. Historical research tells us These numbers are impossible to reverse. In a matter of years, Europe as we know it will cease to exist. Yet the population of Europe is not declining. Why? Immigration. Islamic immigration. Of all population growth in Europe since 1990, 90% has been Islamic immigration. France, 1.8 children per family. Muslims, 8.1.
Wow.
In southern France, traditionally one of the most populated
man.
church regions in the world, there are now more mosques than churches. 30% of children ages 20 and younger are Islamic. In the larger cities such as Nice, Marseille, and Paris, that number has grown to 45%. By 2027, 1 in 5 Frenchmen will be Muslim. In just 39 years, France will be an Islamic republic. In the last 30 years, the Muslim population of Great Britain rose from 82,000 to 2.5 million, a 30-fold increase. There are over 1,000 mosques, many of them former churches. In the Netherlands, 50% of all newborns are Muslim, and in only 15 years, half of the population of the Netherlands will be Muslim. In Russia, there are over 23 million Muslims. That's 1 out of 5 Russians. 40% of the entire Russian army will be Islamic in just a few short years. Currently in Belgium, 25% of the population and 50% of all newborns are Muslim. The government of Belgium has stated 1/3 of all European children will be born to Muslim families by 2025, just 17 years away. The German government, the first to talk about this publicly, recently released a statement saying, "The fall in the German population can no longer be stopped. Its downward spiral is no longer reversible. It will be a Muslim state by the year 2050. Muammar al-Gaddafi of Libya said, "There are signs that Allah will grant victory to Islam in Europe, without swords, without guns, without conquest. We don't need terrorists. We don't need homicide bombers. The 50+ million Muslims in Europe will turn it into a Muslim continent within a few decades." There are currently 52 million Muslims in Europe. The German government said that number is expected to double in the next 20 years to 104 million. Closer to home, the numbers tell a similar story. Right now, Canada's fertility rate is 1.6, nearly a full point below what is required to sustain a culture. And Islam is now the fastest growing religion. Between 2001 and 2006, Canada's population increased by 1.6 million, 1.2 of those immigration. In the United States, the current fertility rate of American citizens is 1.6. With the influx of the Latino nations, the rate increases to 2.11, the bare minimum required to sustain a culture. In 1970, there were 100,000 Muslims in America. Today, there are over 9 million. The world is changing. It's time to wake up. 3 years ago, a meeting of 24 is
That's
that's
crazy.
probably good enough to make that point.
Dude, that's mine. So Europe's already cooked, man. They're already
This is
They're done.
16 years old.
yeah, they're
You know
done,
what I mean?
man.
That
They're-
video was 16 years old. And it's been kind of making the rounds again recently. For obvious reasons. Most of Europe is totally cooked. I mean, they're toast unless they have some sort of.
I don't know. I actually don't even like. How do you even? I mean, if you could decide, even let's say we played out your your situation where they tried to launch a crusade. Could they even actually prevail at this point? Because it's like
It would be tough.
they're just
mean-
severely outnumbered.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and the other thing is, they would have half of their own people against them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They would have the leftist sector of the population fighting against them, saying, "Well, you can't do this," and blah blah blah. What about the people? People make up our community, and you know what I mean. So, and these kind of people are the worst kind of people too. You know, like that guy, and I don't. I mean, he had a response to me or some kind of, well, you're not understanding what I'm saying. But I'm like, it doesn't even matter, because if your knee jerk response is to, in a sense, almost justify like the actions, you're already toast. Like you're not seeing the full picture. Like, these people are not here to play nice with you. They're here to replace you. It's just a waiting game at this point. They're just
They
outplaying
played the
you.
long game, bro, and
Yeah.
honestly, I think they at least in Europe, they've won. They played the long game and they won. You know, it's only a matter of time before, you know, they are taking power for themselves. You know, there's an opportunity for them just outright take it.
The crazy thing too is that, like those kind of people that would side with the Muslims, side with the invaders. So it's the same kind of people. Like, if you ever watch like sci-fi movies or something, like you watch stuff like Independence Day or whatever. You watch these like movies where it's like humans versus, inevitably there's always those little stupid slimy characters that will like side with the, yeah, here's where the bases are, man. Like, here's where all the stuff is, and blah, blah. And they think that, they're going to be allowed to like live, after the aliens dominate everybody, or after the conquerors dominate everybody. But inevitably what ends up happening is those are the first people to go up against the wall. They're just shot in the face in a spaceship, or they're like, subjected to whatever heinous. Like, they're the first persons to go. And it's like those kind of people will sell the country out, thinking they're going to have a leg up, after the revolution or after whatever, and it never works out.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason too. It's like we got to get past the point where we stop letting people emotionally manipulate us. Unfortunately, it still works. So I just want to play this video from Joe Rogan real
Mm.
quick, because I do think it's relevant. Give me a second here.
See a lot of people online talking about this immigrant issue, and they either don't have kids or they don't think it could happen to their kids. Their idea is, hey, shouldn't have fucking come over here. You get those kind of people. Broke the law. Shouldn't have fucking come over here if your kid, you didn't want to get your kid separated. If you...
I mean,
Yes.
yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. You shouldn't have come over here. Here's another way to kind of position this. So if I'm a missionary, and I'm going to another country to preach the gospel to Islam, all right? Let's say that. And I go there and I'm sharing the gospel and they decide to kill me. That's my own fault, okay? Now, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm not going to discourage people from being a being a missionary or something like that, but that's my own fault because I intentionally broke their laws. So any repercussions that happen after that are on me. It's on me. As much as I don't like it, as much as it makes me sad, and my family would be sad, they'd be grieved. But guess what? I still made a decision to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, we want to do emotional manipulation. I mean, what about the 300,000 missing children? I mean, what about the other side of this coin? What about the Lake and Rileys? What about the long list of other Americans, women that are getting raped and killed, or,
It's not even things like drunk driving. Our citizens are being killed by drunken Mexicans and people from other countries.
Well, and
that's bad too.
And then back to what I was saying earlier. And what about all the Americans that are being displaced by these people because they're willing to take?
They don't care. They don't. They
what
seem
about
to lose their compassion when it comes to their own countrymen, and that's
right.
That's one of those things where I'm like, the propaganda has worked.
Right. What about the people who also have a family whose family is getting torn apart for different reasons. The farmer or the trade worker whose family is getting torn apart because some stupid illegal immigrant came in and replaced him for, $20 an hour because the trade, whoever runs the company doesn't want to pay 40, $50 an hour for whatever trade he's in, plumber, welder, etc. And then his family gets torn apart because he can't provide for his family anymore. Everything's, the bills are coming up. Everything's behind. He's got three mouths to feed plus a wife. His wife leaves him, and families are destroyed because he can't provide for his family anymore because the company would rather save a buck and hire illegal immigrants. What about those people? What about that emotional story? What about that? What about Americans? Really, what it comes to. Like, when are we gonna stop letting these people emotionally manipulate us, like you said, and think about American citizens, like the actual fabric of this country, not
And we
people
shouldn't
around
even
the
feel
globe.
guilty about it. Like, there should be no guilt in prioritizing the affairs of your own people. All right. Like, if I
That's
look, I
literally
have
their
a
job.
yeah, yeah. It's your job to
That's what we
enforce the
fucking
government
elected
and the
these
law.
people to do, is to look
Um,
out for us.
Here's another way of thinking about it that might hit home for some people. All right. I have a house. All right. If if I was letting people from the next town over stay in my house, and they started violating things in my house and not listening to rules of my house, I should be allowed to get rid of them. And any sane person would get rid of them. But basically, they're saying, well, you should feel bad for them, even though they're robbing you blind and destroying your house and destroying your family. You should just be okay with it. You should accept it. No, no, I shouldn't. I should be prioritizing my own people. That's how we have to think of America. We have to prioritize our own people.
I mean
Let's finish this.
that's our job. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do. Yeah, let's finish this up.
You were in the presence of a woman who came over here from Guatemala, and she's poor and she's starving, and they're taking her baby away, and she's wailing and screaming from a primal place in her DNA, that the one thing she loves more than anything is being taken away. A baby.
Yeah.
If that doesn't freak you the fuck out, you're not a part of the team, man. You're
Right.
missing it. You're missing it. What are we here for? We're here for 100 years of whatever. That's what we're here for. If you want to spend 100 years saying, hey, she shouldn't have fucking broke the law, I don't want you on the team. You're an asshole, right? And I don't give a fuck if you're right or left. I don't care if you're religious, or I don't care if you're an atheist. If that's what you support, you're an asshole, and we don't want you on our team. I don't give a fuck if they broke the law. You don't take parents and kids and separate them. You just fucking don't. It's disgusting. If you're saying, well, they shouldn't have broke the law, maybe they shouldn't have broke the law. You don't get to do something that's 1,000 times worse than crossing a line in the dirt. That fucking imaginary line in the dirt, crossing that is nothing in comparison to your crime of stealing a baby from its mother. That's fucking insane.
The framing is just dog shit. You know what I mean?
It's
I could do
emotional
the same-
manipulation, like
exactly,
I'm saying, man.
And he's falling prey to it. And the OP is right when they say, like, oh, we got Joe Rogan, they got him. Yeah, because you guys are using manipulative tactics, like the framing can be done in, like I was saying earlier, in any other case. If you are a murderer and you have a family and you have 3 kids, your kids and your wife are going to be in the courtroom after you get arrested, and they're going to be crying and they're going to be sobbing. They're going to be sad to see their fathers going to be locked up for the rest of their lives. But
And
guess
another
what?
thing is,
They got to go to jail. They committed a crime. And
why
Joe
do we
Rogan
present
would
this
sit
as-
there. Joe Rogan would sit there and he would say, well, they committed a crime. And he would be the same fucking guy. He just said, you're not on the team.
yeah, and they rob these people of accountability. Like, so we can't hold them accountable at all if they have a baby.
Right.
So then what
Right.
about like the cartel members that come in with babies and use babies?
Right.
Can they not be held held accountable?
Yeah.
And why is it this
hey,
either
guys,
or
if
situation?
you have kids, you just get a golden pass, man. You get a golden ticket. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You commit crimes, go do whatever. Because hey, if we arrest you or if you get deported, you have to face punishment. or if the cops kill you in a bank robbery, shootout, whatever, hey, it's going to be their fault, because they're ripping a father away from their children. They're ripping a mother away. The
And why
framing's so
can't we
bad,
just
and
deport them
also
together?
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, dude, you can go too, man. Just send them all together. Send the whole
Take your
family
child with
packing.
you. Yeah, go
I,
go together.
I
You know,
mean,
have fun. You don't have to be ripped away. What? Why?
right?
Just go together, and you'll be fine.
Yeah,
So I
this is
guess
just
this
some
is a
other
list
stuff.
of people that have been killed needlessly because they refuse to enforce
And I
border
saw
policy.
this right before we went live, so I haven't even seen. I think Steven Crowder talks about this, and this is a response to down there. Yeah, the Daily Show.
All right, let's play. This one's a little long. I'm just going to read it. I don't give a
Yeah, I don't
F
know how
whose
long.
team he's on. What blows my mind is our resignation in its aftermath. All right. So I guess that's the Minnesota shooting that they're talking about. I didn't really follow that story too closely, but
Possibly,
we'll.
but the main thing was just, um, yeah, where he says this is a list of Americans needlessly killed because of John's parties. Yeah.
But let me give you another one. How about a list of Americans killed by illegal aliens who had no business being here, often in brutal fashion? You want to go with lists? Caitlin Steinley, Laken Riley, Ivory Smith, Maverick Martin, Alex Wise Jr., 10 years old, Talia Crochet, 18 years old, Ryan Uncali, 18 years old, Katie Abraham, 20 years old, Sarah Root, 21 years old, Grayson Davis, 29 years old, Rachel Morin, 37 years old, Officer David Lee, 44, Melissa Powell, 47, and her 16-year-old son, Riordan, Robert Bowles, 70 years old. Here's the common denominator on that list. They were killed by people who had no business being here and could have been stopped in the first place, and that is the actual role of government, not to tell you that you don't have the right to your God-given self-preservation. You want to do lists? Let's do lists. But let me give you another one.
Nah, he hit the nail on the head, man. He hit the nail on the head right there, bro. Yeah, it's like, how many of our people have to die before we start caring?
Yeah.
How many people have to be murdered by these people before we start caring?
Yeah, there's no emotional, angle for these people. Nobody seems to really care. And all that's just a small list. But that's not the real list. I mean, if people were actually allowed to look into this stuff, you know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, the academic institutions are still totally overrun. So regardless of the small like culture shift of Trump getting in office and on the internet, they go to the institutions, they're still having to play. This stuff is really, people can't touch this with a 10-foot pole. They can't actually, do the research on this kind of. They'll get canceled. So if we actually had a list of how many, how many people are getting killed, and then on top of that, just the financial burden alone is like, there's this argument that's made that like they're taxpayers. The illegal immigrants are paying tax. Well, they're not. The FAIR did a recent study in like 2020 or something like that, where it estimated that the tax burden is something like $150 billion. And then the House report in 2024 basically confirmed that plus a little bit and put the number more closer to $180 billion. And that's a net negative on the economy. That's a burden on tax. We're paying for that when it comes to medical costs, because you have to go to the hospital or policing, all these different factors that into this that create this kind of net cost of what it costs us to house all these. And on top of that, I'm in the Carolinas, right? So when we just had Hurricane
Which Carolina
Helene,
are you in?
I just say the Carolina around.
Okay,
But
I'm in South Carolina.
yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. We'll chat about it.
Yeah.
But because there's crazy people, right?
Yeah,
I've been doing
I
this
hear
for a
you.
while. But we just had Hurricane Helene, as you know, and then we find out that FEMA was being used to pay for housing illegal immigrants under the Biden administration. And we've
Oh
been
yeah.
draining the budget of FEMA, which is for natural disasters, to house illegal immigrants. I mean, and it's estimated that the cost, especially in some of these blue states where they're really like amnesty, that they're somewhere in the ballpark of like $60,000 a year is what they're paying for these immigrants, because they're giving them stipends, they're paying between the cost of housing, food that they're given like, cards that are packed with money so they can go get groceries, or they go wherever, they get their medical benefits taken care of. Like, we've got veterans, my stomping grounds when I was growing up was, I used to work at a restaurant in like Chimney Rock on Lake Lure. That whole place is leveled and gone. You know what I mean? We got people buried. Especially in like Western North Carolina, they're gonna be rebuilding for another 5 years.
Yeah, I actually went up to what is it, Black Mountain in North Carolina. I did relief work out over there with a group called Red Truck Men. But yeah, I mean, what happened there was horrific, and FEMA was largely not responding to 80% of the claims there, I think is what they were telling me on the ground.
And then when they did this weird thing where they were like hoarding supplies. They did this like DEI, like, well, these supplies are for like black people and women, diverse. And I was like, what are you talking about, dude? How about help the people that you can help? Like, that's the craziest thing, is like, even when it,
Dude,
the
it's
shit
evil.
hits the
It's
fan,
That's
some of these
evil.
people still can't let it go.
So a lot of the people that we ended up helping out there, like I actually could think of like three of the people that we went and did, like, like chopping down trees and removing trees and helping. They were probably LGBTQ. I didn't care though.
Right.
I wasn't discriminating on people who, oh, you don't agree with me politically, I'm not gonna help. No, you don't do that. It's sick.
And I don't know if you were paying attention, but when they were talking about clearing the roads out, like, oh, it's going to take a year to get the roads rebuilt. Guess what happened? All the blue collar workers, the farmers, came out in droves. They brought tractors out and cleared and regraded the roads themselves, cleared the brush out. They graded the roads, put down gravel, and they built the roads in like 2 weeks. They had drivable roads in and out of these areas. And I
That's
guarantee
wild.
you, all those LGBT Skittles community were like, at the feet of these guys. They're at the mercy of these guys. All these people that they would otherwise, in the past 4 years condemn and say, these people need to be re-educated. They're not that. They're, not hospitable to hate us and blah, blah, blah. And those are the people that are there to save your ass when you.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I think they're using a lot of propaganda to try to change people's minds, especially when it comes to immigration. I just want to play one clip, and I think we'll move on to the issue happening in Iran.
I mean,
But I just,
we can stick on him. I know we got plenty of chew on.
yeah,
It's up to you.
yeah,
So
yeah. No, I'm good with that,
I
bro.
don't really mind either way. I've got at least another hour and a half or so.
Sweet. All right, let's play this though, because I find this hysterical. So Democrats are really running. The Trump is coming for your Latina girlfriend.
Oh yeah, I
man.
saw this.
This is hilarious.
Did I send this to you, or did we both just see
No,
this?
I send this to you.
Okay, good.
But we probably both saw it.
I saw
We've
it on my
always been
feed
friends.
earlier, and
All right.
I had a really good time today.
Yeah, me too. I really look.
What are you doing?
She's coming with us.
What are you talking about? Who are you?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we're rounding up illegals.
She was born here. She's a citizen.
I don't care. She looks like one of them. But don't worry. When she's in prison in El Salvador, she'll have lots of company.
when I saw this, I just had one question, and it was like, how do I vote for that guy? Where is that guy? Who is that? What ticket is he on, and how do I get him in office?
I gotta tell my wife because she's Latina that she's in trouble. Sorry,
What are
honey.
you? You're something.
I'm Latina. I'm in trouble, bro.
You're
I'm
you guys are
Peruvian, bro.
both going. Peruvian?
Yeah, I'm doomed, man. I'm doomed. They're gonna kick down my doors and rip me out of my house. They'll leave my daughter though, because she looks like mostly white. It's so weird.
I'm I'm Spanish, but there's definitely a little back in the tree somewhere. It was Spain to Mexico, and then they did the conquistador thing, and I'm pretty sure somebody was curious.
Yeah,
Obviously, I don't work. So.
I wonder if this actually, like, if somebody sees that and they're like, oh yeah, they're doing that. Like, do they actually believe that?
They do, unfortunately. I mean, like, wasn't that shared by like a left wing?
I think I don't. At least not this
Sure, it was
person. I
shared.
don't think so. Breaking, both the White House and RC have lashed out against creators of this ad. Oh yeah, it was a. They actually
Yeah, so they
believe.
believe it. Yeah, yeah. What are the comments like? I'm curious, because usually these left wingers.
Snap. Yep, this one's going in.
I love X.
What Trump said?
You know,
Homegrowns are
it's
next.
funny. I was on a TikTok panel yesterday. I just decided to like. Sometimes, like when I'm driving home. Yeah, white people are next. They're deporting. They're gonna come after you.
They're coming after illegal
Yeah, if
aliens,
you're
bro.
illegal, you don't got
Illegal
nothing to worry
foreigners.
about.
All I have to do is pull up my social security and my birth certificate. Nope, I'm good.
Did my been out for you?
No, no, you're good. I see you still. Oh wait, it is. It looks frozen now. It's frozen. It's yeah, it's definitely frozen right now. Yeah, the comments are. I welcome this. It gives us the opportunity to point out the lies which discredit your side and grows ours. The left cannot figure out that its shrill overreach has cost it power. You know, if I didn't know that leftists were like hysterical lunatics, I would think that this is satire. That's what I would
Yeah,
think.
I've
Uh,
I've been
it,
saying
it
this.
looks like satire, but it's not, and that's what makes it actually hilarious.
Yeah, and I've been saying this for like, it feels like the past like 5 years or more. I just keep all this stuff that we just. This is stuff you would see on, you know, Saturday Night Live sketch.
I
And
lost your video.
working on.
Oh. Hmm.
Yeah, I've been saying that for a while, that all this stuff should be like, it should be like a comedy. It should be like a Saturday Night Live sketch, South Park sketch, something like this. But it's not. It's not comedy. Like these people seriously believe. And I don't understand how.
So I hear my daughter crying, so I gotta just go check on her, make sure everything's all right. But you could take over and read this real quick while I'm away. All right, I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I don't know if you're still here. Yeah. Kids, man. Huh. Yeah, try that. Let's see if that works. Oh, my daughter is having a little breakdown. Yeah, but I had to comfort her. That happens sometimes. All right, you're sweet. I think so.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance.
That's okay. Yeah, my daughters are awake right now. They definitely should not be. The 2-year-old especially should not be awake, but she sounds like she is wide awake right now. All right, let's read this by Andy now. A Latino radical leftist and Antifa supporter has been charged with the murder after a man shot at Salt Lake City No Kings protest died from his injuries. Arturo Gamboa, wearing all black, allegedly had a rifle. A No Kings liberal peacekeeper volunteer with bad aim tried to taking out Gamboa, but instead fatally wounded a bystander. Afa Halu, picture below, died. Suspect Gamboa only suffered a graze. The peacekeeper has not been named, and police will not have not stated if he will face any charges. So
What a
we
mess,
have
dude.
Antifa. Yeah, this No Kings protest has just been ridiculous. It gets even more ridiculous too because these protests. This is another thing I thought was satire. They spread to Roblox, which is like a children's game. So this is shared
Yeah,
by
I
Taylor
saw some of
Lorenz.
those.
Dude, I did think this is a joke. I was like, there's no way this is real. And I searched her Twitter feed and it's real. On Monday, I reported on an anti-ICE protest taking over Roblox. One of the kids I interviewed texted me this morning to share that the Roblox protesters are now facing police violence. Hello, I was in a Roblox ICE protest, but then we all got shot by the police. I want to believe that this is just a kid trolling her. That's what I want to believe. That's what I would do if I was in this situation, where I got the opportunity to get an interview with a reporter,
Well,
and she's running with it. That's
I mean,
what's a more ridiculous thing.
I will say the kids are, I think the kids are going to be all right. There are some based kids coming out of COVID craziness. I think they'll be all right. And maybe that one was a troll. I hope it was.
Yeah, I hope it was too, but it is hilarious. I mean, what are we going to start too reporting on, like, deaths in like World of Warcraft and Grand Theft Auto and online games? Oh yeah, they were somebody was murdered
Well,
in a protest in World of Warcraft.
you know they you know they were doing this whole thing in the UK and in Europe. Speaking of the UK and Europe earlier, they're like cracking down on the hate speech and stuff. You can't even like game the way you can't.
Yeah. I didn't I never use, and this is one of the things, I don't really use audio chat that much when I'm playing like a multiplayer game. I just don't do it. I don't know why. I don't. But apparently
Got to get
they
in.
mute certain words and ban you if you say the wrong thing in like Call of Duty. I'm like,
Yeah, it's unplayable. I mean, I
that was
don't.
part of the experience growing up.
Yeah, dude, I don't game nearly like I. But I mean, especially like when I started streaming, doing I was on Mixer. Like
Yeah, I feel like I showed up
Xbox's
late to the streaming game, to be honest with you.
It was like Xbox had a built-in. They were like trying to get in game and try to keep I mean, it seemed like it was doing well, but I guess they actually pulled. You know who Ninja is?
Yeah, I know Ninja.
That was one of the first big they paid traction, snowballed. Got other they got other creators and stuff like that. Really didn't pan out. That's where I started, was Mixer, basically.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And then, but then it went under because they sold to like Facebook gaming, and I didn't have a Facebook, and I didn't want. So, and most of the people that were and on got my following on Twitch, doing like Rocket League, at hosting, outcasting, and basically had to restart again in 2020 because I had a decent following. I had reset because I'm talking about politics. None of these kids want to hear
Mm,
about politics.
yeah.
I think the kids today, though, I think it is unfortunate, like UK and all that stuff, can't even game. Lobbies. I don't know how, how into gaming you were. Say you weren't in voice chat and stuff.
I
I gamed
usually
on like
just played
Halo
with my
2,
friends. Yeah, I played Halo 2. We did
yeah,
use
Halo
voice
2,
chat a
Halo
little bit.
3, whatever, like those lobbies, Call of Duty, Black Ops lobby. You get in there after, and it was just smack talk. Everybody's trash talking. Shut up, you. No, just everybody's calling everybody a F slur and this and that and everything. I mean, men need these environments of young guys, young kids.
It makes
There's
you recognize how the world is real, and
right.
challenges you and thickens your skin a little bit.
Yeah. There's a level, there's like a level of bullying that is actually really healthy. Or obviously, you don't want destroying somebody's, life, and to the point that they're like want to, there's a healthy level of we're losing that.
Yeah, that's how you get
Everything's
guys
getting
like
nerfed.
Mark Ruffalo.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, do
we'll
that one.
talk
Yeah.
about so actually, fun fact about I will say this. I've actually met Mark Ruffalo a handful
Really?
of times, actually. Yeah, he used to come into this place I worked at when I lived in New York all the time to buy, like, supplies for his pond that he had. He was actually very nice. So, I was very disappointed when I found out he was a hardcore lib, but, yeah, it's disappointing. Sometimes I just wish the Hollywood celebrities would just not talk about this stuff at all, so I can continue to enjoy their work and it not be tainted by their dumb political opinions.
It's not the immigrants, it's the billionaires. Well, we're seeing what's happening. First of all, we're understanding that the immigrants aren't the criminals. If you look at the statistics, most of the crimes that are committed in this country are by white people, that non-immigrants, and they add to our economy by the billions. And so for every horrible thing that you have to go through in life, you get an equal gift in return. And the gift of this time is that we get to see who the true villains are. We get to see who's really making our lives unbearable and who's making us so desperate. It's not the immigrants, it's the billionaires. And it's time to take our country back from that extreme wealth that has its hands all over the power of the nation and become a beautiful, burgeoning democracy that works for the people, not just the very wealthy. America is us, this incredible panoply of different kinds of people. Be brave, man. We live in the land of the land of the free and the home of the brave. But if you want to be free, you better be brave.
He said a whole lot of nothing.
What the fuck is he talking about?
I honestly, I can't tell you. I don't understand. You know, one thing I don't like that I frequently see from leftists
I'm
is
getting
that.
a echo again.
Hold on. We should be good now. One thing I'm seeing from leftists though is that they're always blaming billionaires, and they act like poor people are incapable of doing evil. And it kind of just baffles my mind. Like, yeah, I'm not saying rich people don't do evil things. Of course they do. But so do poor people. Sin does not care about your socioeconomic status. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
It just simply doesn't.
I'm still getting an echo.
Huh, that's weird. Yeah, and I muted the screen, so that's
Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Still doing it.
Let's see here. How did you not hear what he said, Emily Morris?
What does that mean? What does that mean? What did
we
miss? What did we miss that he said?
Yeah, what did he actually say? Explain it to me.
I'll say this. Echo or not, okay. The idea that we can't walk and chew bubblegum at the same time is ridiculous. Okay, we can say yes. Billionaires, the problem with the billionaires, problem with the corporation, problem with these people that are exploiting you, the American. At the same time, these people that are coming in here illegally are also part of that problem because these people are here to replace you. And the corporations are taking advantage of that fact. Corporations are hiring the illegals, not because they're just like we really like those DEI. No, they're hiring them because they can pay them $6 an hour. Okay, that's why they're hiring them. So one, we need to nerf the corporations in a sense, as far as whether that means analyzing them for their behavior. Or not supporting them as tax-paying citizens, as the consumers of their products, not buying their products, and then also send illegal immigrants home. So like we can do the juggle. You don't have to say. No, they're not. They're a major burden.
Hey, Nacho, I lost your audio for 1 second. I'm just going to refresh this real quick. Hopefully it doesn't mess anything up.
Camera's back.
All right. Are we good? We're good. Finally.
I don't know if you heard my yap, but
I heard part of it. Yeah. What says you, Emily?
The main takeaway is that we can walk. Have to pick and choose. We can also. I don't disagree with billionaires. No, he's part of that. I don't necessarily even disagree. I have to pick between. We can say. billionaires need to be punished, displacing American work, paying employees.
Here's another thing nobody talks about too when it comes to illegal immigration. When all of them are fleeing their own countries and they're coming here, what are they doing to actually solve the problems in their own country? Especially when the good ones are coming here. Their country continues to stay in a state of disarray, and their government is not has no incentive to improve the quality of life there. And then they think they can dump them on America and it should be our problem. That's bullcrap.
I've got another good video, even though this is off topic, but I happen to have.
Sick. Let's do it.
This guy talks about. This is a pretty short video too. I think it's like another like. This actually influenced tremendously. Again, this is another. This is like 16-year-old video, 15-year-old video or something.
I actually think I remember this video.
Yeah, I saw this when I was younger. This had a big impact on my stance on.
Can you hear the audio on this? Okay, give me 1 second here.
But basically, part of the reason what made me think about it is when you're talking about the.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
He talks about it in this video.
All right, let's play it. Are you getting that echo too? Hearing it? Yes, no? Dang it. That's annoying, man. This is so annoying. You know what I'm gonna have to do? I'm gonna have to. Oh wait.
Studio. Mostly successful.
No. I remember this. I know what you're talking about though with this video, and all the marbles in the jars. Yeah.
Yep. But in here, let me see if I can. Right on the tip of my brain.
$650 million. Has a heartbreaking 810
Yeah, I
that are
think what I'm gonna
desperately
do for the
3,000
next
gun
time I
bombs
do this is actually just set up OBS
to make it here as
and
immigrants
do
come from
everything through
Mexico.
OBS.
And the World
so I have
Bank
a little
tells
bit more
us
control.
double
So I don't like the fact that I
and
can't share
social
the
difference
audio
take.
with you. That's going to make doing the reaction to the rest of these much more difficult. It come back to you?
Oh, yeah, because basically, yeah. So what you're doing is you're starving. So you're starving these other countries that you're saying are poor and you're saying are desperate, saying are struggling, whatever. The people that are most likely to make it here, first of all, especially if they're immigrating here legally, are going to be the higher IQ. So right now we have this problem where, and this was like a big argument talking earlier about the H, that people were making. No, it's not actually. The average IQ of Indians that make it to America IQ in India. So, and that's what you're saying with, that's what this video kind of demonstrates at some point. That's not really the point of the video, but he covers it briefly, and it's basically what you're talking about. You're starving these people who would otherwise be here having to tackle those, trying to fix the problems where they're at, are now just coming, not really having to be. They're going to make it, and but they're not fixing their problem.
Yeah.
That's this brain starving.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good for the state of their own country, you know? And that's one of those things that I don't think I've ever actually heard somebody talk about that. Not once. No politician, no right-wing commentator. Nobody brings that point up, and I do think it's particularly relevant. I think it matters. The only time I actually heard about it was when I went to visit Bolivia, and I had a Bolivian man tell me about it. He's like, "Oh yeah, well, other countries, they know that they can send their people there, and they don't have to deal with them, and so they're very supportive of open borders because then they don't have to take responsibility for anything that they're doing in their country." And I'm like, "Well, that's not good."
And that's what bothers me about a lot. Happy for multiple reasons, but one of which is that we don't have to go there, and they other big the money that the remittances
Yeah.
tax was taxing remittances back to. I'm like, what is the problem? Well, that's because
Yeah.
and the cartel run.
Yeah, that's
I
crazy.
mean, like it's ridiculous. And then these people are going to be president. This Jewish president, of Mexico. What is even going on? What is happening here? You know what I mean? Not to do the Jaceberg thing. I'm just saying, like, what is happening? What happened? Why is there 29 people are killed in election cycle? I'm not saying it wasn't in. I don't think all the this is the most corrupt country bordering us for sure. South
Canada's
America in
pretty bad too.
general, America in general is so mainly corrupt and probably, and they're going to scold us on country. Just telling us we didn't do probably do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The only saving grace in South America in the past couple years has been the Salvador.
Yeah, the prison thing, man.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
yeah, that president is actually, I think, setting, I think, a really good precedent for us to follow. It's like kind of crazy when you punish crime, you get less crime. When there are
Crazy.
severe consequences for doing evil things, you get less crime. And that's something
A
that I've
crazy
heard
idea.
all the time, like, "Oh, well, the death penalty or long prison sentences, harsh penalties don't work." What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And then they make up, like, there's like an argument against the death penalty, and they'll say, "Oh, we shouldn't use the death penalty. It doesn't work." It's only been used in the last year. It's only been used 25 times. Well, of
In El
course it's not
Salvador?
effective.
Or you're
No, no,
saying
in
like,
America, in America,
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
of course it's not effective. You don't use it
Yeah,
ever.
it's and that's what, I was talking to someone, actually someone at work about this, kind of saying, you know, all of the punishment public for anything, whether it was a small crime or a crime, whatever, like executions would be public, uh, court trials were public, the community was paying attention. And when punishment is passed down for crimes, they commit crimes less, and the whole reason is to be public. And if it's not public, then what purpose is it actually? Nobody actually knows, what the punishment for these crimes are. Then, like that's there could be some weight to that British guy's comment earlier. It's well, yeah, if you only punish people, nobody actually ever finds out that like when you commit these crimes, you're gonna go to prison for life, or like you're gonna be put up against a fire.
Yeah, there
Put in
needs
the
to be a
electric chair.
fearful expectation of judgment.
South Carolina just did a firing squad.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Based. You not see
Yeah.
that? You didn't know about that?
No, I heard about it. I didn't actually watch it though,
Well, yeah,
but
I
I
didn't
heard
watch
about
it,
it.
but
It's
yeah.
it's good.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
definitely sends a message like you get crime, you're gonna pay the ultimate. And I'm not like talking petty crimes. You got to do something
yeah.
pretty horrendous to get the death penalty, but it should still be implemented because that's going to send a message to the general population that you can't get away with doing these things. You will be punished for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole point of punishment. If punishment is not made, punishment was private. Really think about it. There's no purpose.
Yeah.
If you're gonna kind of put everything, kind of dampen everything, you're gonna like, well, we need to like make the prison system. What the hell? Whose idea was it to do prison reform?
Dude, I
You know
do
what I mean?
not know. I do not get
Needs
it.
to be a place where you go to rot.
Yes. Yes, I make this point all the time.
I
It needs
mean-
to be uncomfortable. You have to dread the idea of going to prison. It has to be honestly like a nightmare. It has to be one of the most uncomfortable places in the world so that you strike fear in the hearts of people and
Yeah.
they don't commit crimes because they don't ever want to end up there. And that's why El Salvador was so effective. They were able to reduce their crime. I think that I'm quoting the number off the top of my head, but I think it's like 50%. Like it dropped yeah, dramatically.
That's what I thought I heard. But yeah, I mean that's the whole purpose of this. Yeah, like you're saying, the idea that you like going there. If you violent person, separate, put out and live in fight for school, grits and water, scraps of bread. No, the prison guards are just there to keep you guys kill each other. They bodies out. Like, I mean, if you done things that heinous, don't belong. First of all, you.
No.
Second of all, these should be written about, documented, but not say, "Oh, bad," and it should be to say, "Hey, what's going to happen to you? Happen to you? Just fully sick. You're unsafe."
And
In
we
that
also
prison.
just need to understand the principle of justice. Like the victims of these crimes deserve justice. Letting them get away with it, and not making
Right.
them suffer an equal measure of what they've done is a miscarriage of justice.
Yeah, the idea that somebody gets all the stuff in the past and up into the
I don't know anything
Dude,
about that, man.
Elon Musk was like posting about all of it because of this Muslim. They basically running a kidnapping, sex trafficking, to like especially where there were like lower income area, kidnapping white English girls, ruining them,
Jeez.
raping them. They were drugging them, telling them if you tell anybody, we'll kill you. Blah blah blah. Out to be easy
Holy
and
smokes.
but those that were and there were hundreds of these guys were involved in this Pakistan crazy shit. And the wives of that's where part of that come from, where that article came from. I was like, oh, trying to defend this shit. Also, the country, like, did anyone tell them they can't just kidnap schoolgirls?
The
Ages 12
feminists
to 6?
the feminists say it all the time, actually, "Don't rape." They say that all the time.
Yeah,
So I'm sure they were very, very well aware.
yeah.
That
So then on top of that, all of these people basically got off with a slap on the wrist. That's the worst.
y yeah, that's horrific, man.
That all these guys, Europe, Western Europe, whether it's Germany, the UK, or even bad, people are getting off. There was one that they let this guy off, this African American, who like raped some like 11-year-old girl. I think it was like in. They let him off because his IQ was like 67 or something. Because that was their defense. The defense was to go get him tested. Say that his IQ was so low, he doesn't actually have the like mental capacity. And the girl ends up killing.
That's horrific, man. That's another thing that I don't really like about, like, modern psychology is that they pathologize all these evil acts. I don't actually care if he was mentally ill. I don't care if he was mentally incompetent. I care about what he did. All right? Like let's stop pathologizing evil.
Yeah,
It's evil. Let's call a spade and let's judge it accordingly.
we prosecute children. Child murders another child or something. The general society would say the child doesn't have the proper like mental capacity. Skittles.
Yeah, then you get an exception. Yeah. That might
But
actually be a good segue in a minute to the trans stuff.
the normal the population, well, it doesn't matter. They killed. Yes, most of us still took another punishment.
Yeah, and then failure to do so, what does that say to other potential criminals? It says you can get away with it. You can do this and there won't be any consequences.
Oh,
And
and
then it exasperates the very problem that you're faced with in that moment.
but to leave off on the boards of it, the big topic right now is all these have some path to legalize these pathway to choosing to go. What meant as that? Hey, actually, there's no reason to stand in this. No reason to wait in the proper way to leave. We should just jump the line. These guys did give us a path there anyway.
And legal immigrants should be upset over that. I mean, my grandma came here the right way. She immigrated over here from Peru with her husband. She did it the right way. My wife's old employers, they're Albanian. They did it the right way. And they don't call themselves Albanian. They say, "No, I'm American." They're American. They identify
Yeah,
with
they're
America.
not
They love American tradition.
African. You're American, probably go home. I mean, you pick a side if you.
And if you don't, and if you love your own country so much, which I'm all for it, love your own country. That's what you're supposed to do. Go there, go there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait.
stop waving your stupid Mexican
Before
flag in our nation. Go
before we
back to your
go,
own nation.
we before we leave immigration, drop that like a perfect, probably.
Let me see.
Yeah, it's just the video.
I don't know if I'll be able to just.
These people holding.
Oh
Be able to
wait,
like
yeah.
pop it out.
Here we go. Yep, I got it. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, so you're just gonna have
Do
to.
like a 3, 2.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1.
Of the Mexican flag, but nobody wants to live in Mexico. If we wouldn't want to live in Mexico, then why do the tios, the señores, the men, and the women too? They be working here for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. They just live in one room sharing it with a bunch of dudes. They send all their money back so they can build houses for their families, and they can't wait. They're just counting down the minutes in a year until when they can actually go back. Even las familias that live here, buying houses over there too. Every Mexican that I know own their houses here. They buy a house in Mexico too. They're building it or they're already bought it. So yes, nobody wants to live in the United States. I was born in the United States and I don't want to live in the United States. The next 5 years, I'm moving back to Mexico. Yes, we do want to live in Mexico. The only thing is
Good.
that we're just making money here so we can actually go back to live in Mexico. Ain't nobody trying to live in this sweatshop of a country with a Gucci belt on. The fuck?
Then why are you
Right.
here? Why are you here? I
And
don't get it.
and that's like, that's the quiet part that, you know, the leftist idiots want to like hide, but that these immigrants are willing to say out loud, like, there is no intention to assimilate. They don't want to. There's especially among the Muslims. The Muslims don't even really hide it. They try to. They don't do a really good job of hiding. Their whole job is to do it by any means. Play the long outbreed. And
That is what they're doing,
South
man.
Americans, a lot of amongst a lot of Mexicans, there is this idea and a lot of talk spread among like higher. I mean, it's not just like internet. This is like the higher up the government make comments. Like, so when these people come over and they, I mean, I don't know how. I mean, I would love to see like one of these progressive left, what they would have to say. They would have to telling them straight to their. They're just using your They're literally stealing money and back.
She said the quiet part out loud is what she did. You
Right.
know, so that's what they don't want us to hear. But that is the sentiments that a lot of them do hold. All right, let's talk about this transgender ban in Tennessee because I do think this is a huge victory. So this is one of those things that I have been very outspoken about for years, man. I mean, years and years and years I've been talking about this issue. And for a long time, you know, probably up until I would say 2022, I got a lot of backlash for it. I got called transphobic. I got called a fearmonger. I got called every name in the book for simply recognizing the fact that it is deranged to affirm uh, someone's quote unquote gender identity. And now we are seeing the tides kind of turn on this transgender madness, and the Tennessee courts have upheld a ban preventing gender transition procedures for minors. So this is from Matt Walsh. There's a little bit more about this. He said 3 years ago we launched our investigation into Vanderbilt's child mutilation practices. Which, by the way, if you are unfamiliar with that investigation, basically they're on camera admitting, to bragging essentially about how they're, these procedures generate them a lot of money, and that it's a very lucrative business to them. Yeah, it was crazy, dude. It blew my mind. So the Daily Wire, Matt Walsh broke that investigation. I actually went out to this rally that he had to end genital mutilation out there. And so he rallied in the state capitol. That was the one that I was at. Our lawmakers responded with a law banning child mutilation in the state. Today, the Supreme Court upheld that law, which means child mutilation can be banned anywhere and everywhere in the country and should be. This is truly a historic victory, and I'm grateful to be a part of it, along with many others who fought relentlessly for years. And I am so glad that this insanity is coming to an end, because it is one of those things. This is a lie that, if bought into, it fundamentally uh shapes your perception of reality. Because if they can trick you into believing you're the opposite gender, they can get you to go along with anything. And that's how they got a lot of these people to go along with this utter madness.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything. That's I didn't know that Matt was even breaking that story. I didn't even know that was such a big, pretty good. And I didn't even know that this SCOTUS ruling was happening either. That was something. I'm glad.
Yeah, me too, dude. Because I guess there was, so with the actual ruling itself. So the court ruled 6-3 in the United States versus Scarmetti that Tennessee's law does not violate the 14th Amendment Equal Protections Clause. Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Scarmetti defended the law before the High Court in December, saying it was a matter of protecting kids from the consequences of decisions they could not fully understand. Obviously, that's obvious. Yes, they don't understand what they're doing here. They don't understand the long-term repercussions of what they're children. And our job as parents is to guide them in their decision making, not lead them to make decisions that are going to result in irreversible damage.
This is something that kind of got brought in pool. I was trying to explain to her, like, whole topic was why are men, and it got to the part where sports all these, like, not see that, trying to distance your, trying to say that because of the, like, you agree with this thing. I'm like, you not see what you can't see that from, like, a person's kind of perspective. You are the
That is one of the that is by
that is
far
probably
one of the
one of
most
the most,
extreme things they do and
yeah.
believe. If you believe that you can identify as the opposite sex and that we should go along with it, that is
Well,
actual insanity.
well, that's what I'm saying. That in and of itself is
Yeah.
crazy enough. But then when you say my child, and then as if that's not crazy enough, then the doctor is going to come in and say we should affirm their, when the reality is that, and I was able to bring this up briefly, but I've tried to look into this and I haven't found any studies that, especially not specifically surrounding like gender studies, like where they attempt to basically affirm the birth given. There's nothing on. There's none of that is even. And
They
you would
wouldn't do
think
that.
logically that would be the first
Well,
solution, right?
you,
So like,
you
hey,
know what they
my
call
my
that?
my
They
daughter
call
thinks
that
they're
they call
whatever.
that what is it called? I'm trying to think of what they call that. There's a specific psychological term that they call for affirming your actual biological sex. God, it'll come to me. Go on.
Well, they say like,
No, 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 no. For affirming their actual sex.
oh yeah,
Oh, it's called. Oh, you know what they call it? Conversion therapy, and they treat it like it's a bad thing.
yeah. See, that's what. Yeah, so I would say that that seems the most logical. Hey, my son came. Okay, hey, doctors say, hey, let's try to give him testosterone. Let's try to juice him up. Let's try to like have him embrace his masculinity, whatever. And
Yeah,
it's
they
funny
would
because
call that conversion therapy, which is
what
crazy.
that is crazy. What's interesting that what I did find is that there were actually on like chronically depressed subjects or something like that. They did them with double blind tests. These were like legitimate depressed male and female, and what they did is they gave them males their depression almost cured their depression. Still
Wow.
had issues, addict, something like this, but they're I mean they had huge successes, huge turnaround breakthrough clients that were having major success. Were happy. They were lives were turning around, and I'm like, why aren't we? Especially with, I mean, I think that this whole transgender, you know, surgeries, this whole nonsense, mutilation, it's basically current.
Yeah,
We're
dude.
we're gonna look back at this in the future. People are going to be on the wrong. Will you chop? Maybe it's after our lifetime, during our life, whatever. But we're going to look back on that advance, and we're gonna say like, look, these people were insane. Like this, putting a needle inside your nose and poking in the front because they're like depressed or something is insane. Lobotomies were
It's
insane,
crazy, bro. It is.
and
It's one of the most
chopping
insane.
off your genital.
I still can't, for the life of me, figure out how there are people too that I know, leftists that I'm friends with, how they ever bought into this. It's one of those things that I'm just like, how could you be that stupid? And that's what I say. If they can get people to deny something that's so fundamental, so obviously true, they can get them to buy into anything. They get them to believe anything.
Yeah.
Um, I
Well, I
wanted to
mean,
bring.
I think a big part of that has to do.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, the institutions being with that kind of leftist, and I think what really makes it stick, I think, the fact that at some point these people realize, because I know what you're talking about. There's some like smart individuals all for these. I think what happens though, a big part of it is that they went to these paid much money for this education, and so they have to value it. You know what I mean? Like sunk time lives paying off workers, so they have to sort of take it seriously. They have to, because otherwise, then they realize they've been.
Yeah.
Most of them have, unfortunately.
Yeah, they've been duped, man. But not everybody. And I like this. This is from J.K. Rowling. So she's replying to this account called Trans Diaries. J.K., how do you know a stranger is a man or a woman without forcing them to undress or undergo medical examinations? J.K. Rowling, I have a superpower called eyesight.
He cracks me
Yeah,
up.
it's something that you could just plainly observe. And here's the thing, so there are some of these trans people that want you to call them by their preferred pronouns. I think your average person should be insulted, or if somebody asks you what your pronouns are, that should be an insulting question because it should be obvious. All right. And then if I get it wrong, all right, if you look like a man, talk like a man, but you're really a girl, well, that's your fault actually for confusing me because you went out of your way to alter your body in such a way that it confuses your average person. That's not my problem. But I should be insulted if you ask me what my pronouns are because it should be obvious. Because we do have eyes, we can tell just by looking at it, and that's how it's been for most of human history.
Yeah, yeah. It's a little silly. It's like these one or two like people that you could get out of an entire population, you know, that may be able to pass to the average person are an anomaly. They're like that. Most people wouldn't blink an eye if they came into the. On the trying to ask her like, what is a woman? And
Somebody that
character or
identifies as
something
a
like.
woman.
No, she said it was like it was an act or the behavior or something. I have to go back. I haven't. And it's like, but these people are insane. I mean, they think these people are not norm. Whether you can have some guy that let's whatever the hell and pretends to be a boy. The funny thing is that even those ones that pass, so to speak, that are in like Thailand or whatever, they call themselves boys. They call themselves
Yeah.
lady boys. They don't even
And they only pass
try
until
to
they open their mouth, and then you
right.
can tell.
And then you can tell, or you can see their Adam's apple move. Like we can all tell. There's something's gonna give you away if you're around long enough. That what's that stupid? They've been trying.
Schaefer?
I think so.
Yeah, allegedly supposed to play Zelda.
Yeah, and it's like, dude,
There's no way Nintendo's gonna let that happen, by the way.
those pictures are the most doctored pictures you've ever seen. I don't know if you one where that was going all over Twitter. Him with biological sister, and it's like it couldn't be. Look up like Hunter, something like that. Two of them together, going around on Twitter because it's clear as day, especially when you put them side. The even creepier part about that, he's basically his sister, and you have to wonder if there's not some ink or weird. Most of these people, to be honest, not even a question, have all of these. They only adopt male, and the horrible things it has to come to an end. Should have never celebrated. There's no need to celebrate it, even if you look at it from secular perspective. Right? You're wanting to, assuming most people will further their nation. You want humanity to procreate, whatever. Well, prunes have nothing to.
No.
Skittles community, nothing to. Can't procreate. Can't you can't further society in any positive way.
You're not capable of war fighting, you're
Yeah,
mentally unstable.
mentally unstable. But the main thing, procreate on your own. Like you can't reproduce. The only way to reproduce that thing, logical indoctrination through, and unfortunately, that is how most of it propagated. This is how bred for such I mean,
I do think the tides are definitely with a ruling like this by the SCOTUS, the tides are turning against them, and it's becoming far less favorable to defend it. You know, we recently had that issue with Simone Biles backtracking her her comment to Riley Gaines, basically calling her transphobic or whatever. She got penalized by her sponsors for being pro-trans. So that's a
really?
sign that yeah, that's a sign that things are changing because she had ended up issuing this
Well, I knew she was getting dragged all over
yeah, she got
TikTok,
dragged, but then
especially.
she issued an apology, and
All
it
that.
was like this PR policy, and I don't I'm assuming that there was pressure applied on her to do that because of how unpopular it is right now to be pro-trans.
To me, it seemed like most of it actually
Oh,
actually
really?
that stuff in the past couple of years. It's not really
Yeah.
actually the same thing. Tying it back into Panera Bread. Uh, there is a big sentiment among the black community right now too. There was a lot. There was a big kind of like black Twitter versus leftist illegal immigrants on Twitter. But FBAs. I don't know if you're kind of follow any of that stuff or if you
I don't know if I'm in that,
foundational Black American
no,
aware of
that's
that.
like a whole ecosystem that I'm not a part of.
Yeah, I'm in Black Twitter. I like to get
That's cool. Yeah, I need to adjust my algorithm.
you probably don't, but but I get in there because I like to just get it. I like to be everywhere. But the so FBAs are like totally anti-immigrant. You know what I mean? Because they're still trying to get their reparations. So they're doing some other things that I probably don't agree with. But then when they talk about immigration, I'm like, all here. Maybe once we get that stuff figured out, we can sit down at the table later on. But I mean, it's funny because they were making all these posts basically. Saw some people that were coming out and saying, Ochwin's actually a guy who was. I was like, you somebody is gonna help you out. You're not gonna want sitting on the sidelines. Basically, black people memes and other kind of stuff like that. And then somebody put out like a because they don't care about immigrants. Why are they gonna welcome people? They feel like they're already struggling and got all these other. Now we're gonna care more about this.
Yeah.
You're supposed to become like I'm supposed to become integrated into your struggle. Like, so they were kind of pushing back on this. Good to see, and they were definitely Riley Gaines,
Simone Biles.
Simone Biles. There was a ton of black tick women, black tick. Why would we, especially And I think there's also an aspect of that, like we're already struggling enough. Why we're
Yeah.
gonna add in this other flavor? You know what I mean? We already got it hard enough.
That's one of those things
I
where
can
I'll take
appreciate
any
that.
ally I can get in the fight against the Troons because it's just one of those things that if it doesn't get squashed now, it just it opens the floodgates to all sorts of depravity, as we have seen with pride and all this LGBTQ plus nonsense. So it has to go back to the hell from whence it came. And I'm glad that culture is shifting in I think a positive way where this is becoming increasingly unpopular. Like pride parades are down 30% now. They're hemorrhaging people, they're hemorrhaging support. I think I don't recall really seeing any corporations change their logo to like the rainbow flag this year, which I think is good. It's
Saw
a
a
good
couple.
sign that we are healing.
There was
Maybe they
some
do it on
sports team.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, well, no, there was a couple that did it
Oh,
on
I
like
did see
Phillies or something.
the the MLB recently played that stupid they had the stupid trans flag playing. So there'll be some people that are dying on the hill, but I do think overall though, we are moving away from it.
Well, unfortunately, the biggest problem with all of that is it was popular. Say the hard R and it would be, you know what I mean? They don't care. What I try to explain, they don't care.
You want to know something funny? So the company that I work for, a week before Trump implemented the DEI bans, they had sent out an email saying that they have an unwavering commitment to upholding the principles of DEI. And they sent out this email. A week later, Trump issues the executive order, and then they release a following email saying, due to the executive order, we are going to be basically rolling back our DEI initiatives, which
Oh,
told
the
me
money's dried up.
they don't actually believe this crap. They don't. They just want the money. They just want the money. They don't actually believe it.
Nope. Never did. And it's and then you have to wonder why how to be why it was why are we allowing the government who is supposed to, like I said, out for our best to protect, you know, civilians of the state from pushing this crap on pushing this businesses. Why are we giving tax benefits to companies just because they're pro skill?
Yeah, the left has been ideologically captured, man. It's part of their DNA now. I don't know how it happened. I don't think I'll ever fully grasp how somebody can buy into something that's so obviously insane. But other than propaganda is very effective, man. Very effective. All right, dude. I think uh I think we're gonna start to wrap it up now. So do you have any final thoughts?
No, yeah, I mean,
Yeah. It was a good conversation though. It was a really good conversation. And where can people find you?
X, YouTube, and Rumble right now. Like I said earlier, I used to kind of shut that down. I think I'll pulling everything. X Rumble.
Yeah, now's a really good time to be on Rumble, bro. They're putting a lot of work into it. Obviously, studio needs a little bit of work, but
Yeah, the studio could use some work.
yeah, the studio
Hey,
needs a little
we
more
made it
work.
work. Is this the first time you?
This is the first time I've used it like this, like to do the dual screens. Um,
The first time
so
I've used it.
yeah,
On the
it went.
first run, Rumble, I think you did.
Yeah, it went fairly well. Yeah, need some minor adjustments, but I think it worked for the most part, and I definitely enjoyed the conversation, and I appreciate you coming on the show, man. All right, have a good night, everybody. Deuces.